Welcome to Yoga Chats with me, your host, Greg Walsh. Today's guest is Tamara Howard of Tamara Howard Communications, a brand agency with soul. You see, you're curious, you like Tamara already. But there's something else. Tamara is a recently qualified yoga teacher. Full disclosure, Tamara did her teacher training last year in my studio, Samadhi Yoga Studios. And Tamara signed up for an in-person training. And then 6 months into the 10, 12 month course, lockdown hit. Tamara.
Yes, the world changed when I did my teacher training.
Is it because you did teacher training that the world changed?
Of course, but there was this other small little thing called the global pandemic. Just a little hiccup that, yes, was a wonderful thing to try and adapt to.
Yes, yeah, I know. I'd like to think we did. So with that in mind, Tamara, we have to talk about it. Tell us about your teacher training.
We have to talk about it. And of course, you know, no one goes into a teacher training lightly. It's quite a big plunge, and there's a lot of soul searching that happens before and during. And we were all in the throes of getting to know each other and having our weekends together. And I think where were we? We were, I suppose, we got our January session. So we had our first couple of months, we had our January session together. And then by February, I think you had made the call.
We had an inkling.
At that point.
I think we got through the March one. The March was early March. We got through March. I remember saying, it's looking like things may be locking down. And someone had said to me, someone I know who works in a hospital, had said, this is going to really blow up and you're going to need to close down. And I was like, no, it's not going to happen. And then, but, you know, came around to it. But I remember saying to all of you, we're probably going to be closing down. And you had the same reaction as I had.
Yeah, of course. That was actually, I remember that because I had done your Tuesday night class in Drogheda, and you said to me afterwards, I think we're going to have to close down. And I said, fine, I think I have to get to Aldi. And I got to the Aldi before the mania. But then we got that weekend, and then you were very honest with us all, you know, we have to try and adapt. And we did. We went into lockdown. And to be fair, you know, of course, we're not thinking at the start of this that you were going to have to kind of convert and do things. It's the ultimate pivot, really. You know, it was the first example of pivoting that we transferred to a completely online course. And obviously we were kind of 50% of the way through, wondering when we'd ever get the chance to put hands on each other for physical adjustment training and that kind of thing. So we rolled with it. And I think you know, to be fair to yourself and the teachers on the course, you did amazingly well, taking our feedback on board and listening to our needs and our specific setups, because we were all essentially just trying to roll with the COVID kind of punches and the fear and everything that went along with it. It's all second nature now, but there was a big kind of emotional storm that went with it.
It's easy to remember, or it's easy to forget, actually. Sorry, you're right. Like, we're now so used to it. And, you know, if we reopen and lock down again, we do, let's hope it doesn't happen, but we do know how to manage it. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Back then, like, I really thought we were closing for 3 weeks. We managed to open sort of a little bit over the summer, but then just closed back down. Was it mid-September again? Like the studio space, the Drogheda space is gone now, and the studio space in Temple Bar is just sitting there with plants growing, and that's the height of it. And who knows when we'll reopen, and that's fine, but safety first. But yeah, we really thought it would be just a few weeks. And I remember at the time, you know, I spoke to a few people. Paula Mitten gave me some brilliant advice about going on to Zoom and how to manage it, and camera angles and all these kind of things, and audio, how important the audio is and all that. And but I remember, for me, it was very important to have dialogue with you guys to figure, is this working? How is it working? Let's try this. That didn't work. We're going to add a few extra hours here and there. And I think we added 2 extra weekends on in the end. For me, it was very important that you felt that you were coming out of the course trained. So
and we did, and trained plus more, you know, because we got that extra time with you, and thankfully so much of the course was immediately transferable to online. You know, we're still working with the same course content, we're still having the same dialogue. If this had happened 10 years ago, it would have ruled some of us out entirely. But the fact that we, you know, can work with our laptops and work with our webcams and make it work. And yeah, we've come out the other side, and
you have a look at you now. You're
interesting.
You're now a bona fide yoga guru. So, and you kept training as well. You've done more training since.
I did my 50-hour yin teacher training with Bernie Clark and Diana Batts, again online. And it's one of these benefits of the change in geography. You know, we're no longer impacted by geography. We can work with teachers that would have been completely inaccessible before this. So getting my yin teacher training completely online was interesting and intense in a different way. And you're working with time zones, but there's so many weird and wonderful opportunities out there if we're kind of ready to spot them is the thing.
Yeah, you have to be a little more creative, but the whole online medium, it's a new frontier. Yeah, and I've said it before, I really enjoy teaching online. Yeah, teacher training on Zoom, it was a really great learning experience. And it was, you know, it was a time that suddenly I had a lot of time. So we did have the time to rebuild the content into an online, but it was we were very keen on it. This is live online, working with you, first name terms, cameras on. You know, I know there are online teacher trainings where it's pre-recorded. That's a different thing. So we're not talking about that today. So
yes, exactly. Yeah.
I'm going to move on. I'm going to slightly change topic, but now you as a new yoga teacher, something that well, we all still get it, but you do get a lot of new people coming to yoga. I think new beginners are often drawn to new teachers. Perhaps, you know, they see a parallel. And or it could be friends who were always curious about yoga, but now you're teaching it, they want to come. So flexibility. So because I find that, you know, there's the old adage, there's a great cartoon of Batman slapping Robin because Robin is saying, but I'm too stiff to do yoga. Yes. Flexibility doesn't matter. Do you need it? Do you have it?
Well, see, this is one of the really interesting things that I think there's such a premium put on flexibility. Like you have to have this gold card before you come to a yoga class that says, I'm ready for yoga. And it was something that kind of dawned on me when I started teaching. I think how I feel about my physical abilities depends on the day of the week. Some days I feel like I can take it all on and I'm the most flexible person in the world. And then other days I feel like a literal block of wood. And that's because we are constantly changing and constantly reacting to stresses and hydration. And so flexibility,
food and sleep.
Exactly. All of these different factors that happen and that take over your body without any permission. But it kind of dawned on me when I was teaching a few months, and someone said to me afterwards, God, you're so flexible. You come down into pigeon pose and just fold. And I was going, yeah, that's true, I suppose. But that could be because I have a femur, head of my femur that kind of allows for me to do that. I come down into Sukhasana super easy. You know, it's just my physical makeup. My range of motion allows for these things. But put me in a different pose. Paschimottanasana is a good example of where I go block of wood. And I always kind of figured, but I have nice open hips. I should be able to do this. And I think
in a way, that's the problem. I would think, because I'm really resonating what you're saying, because I can roll in really well. So like Virasana, kneeling, any kneeling, piece of cake all day. Padmasana work where I can do it because I do it every day. But if I let it slide for a few weeks, I'm not back to square one, but I'm certainly back to square two. And so
well,
your
this
body
is making sense. This is making sense for me in your classes, Greg, because you love an L Virasana, and I'm going, can we not do Sukhasana? You put me in Virasana, and I could sometimes there's tears, you know, I do, because my hips want to go out. And my thing is, you know, when I'm saying to myself, but I should be able to do this, it's the word should that I have a big problem with. You should be flexible. You should be able to touch your toes. You should be able to do a back bend. Take it out. Like, what are you trying to achieve? What's your intention? And that's the real, if your intention is to try and touch your toes, well, let's look at what's blocking you. Is it tension in your back, or is it compression in your hips? Because they're two completely different things. So take the should out and let's look at what we're trying to do, is kind of where I go with it. Yeah. So
I love that. Yeah, because for me, yoga, like when I started at first, I was a bit more showy, I'll be honest with you. And it goes with, you know, the age profile, et cetera, et cetera. But and now it's more mind management. It's gaining, it's about, for me, about gaining control of my life, feeling better in my body, gaining knowledge of my body, knowing how to work with injuries. We always are carrying a few, most likely. Most people, if you're active, you know, you pick up bumps and lumps. And but also feeling at ease, finding ease in my mind through my body. It's using my body to get at my mind, using my body to get at my breath, to get at my mind. The flexibility doesn't matter. In a way, if you're less flexible, it means you have more to work with.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. I when I started, and what you said is exactly right. When I started teaching, I had people gravitate towards me who had never ever tried yoga, and they get the benefit of trying it at home. So no one's going to see them, is one of the great things that invites people, beginners, to try to learn a bit of yoga online. And I had someone coming to me who really was just kind of entirely locked up, very little range of motion, very little flexibility. And with time and patience and practice and that kind of persistence, he just opened, you know, and it's gradual, and it's going one direction, which is really, really fantastic. But that he didn't come in with any expectations that he needed to be on Instagram in 2 weeks. You know, it's patience. Exactly. Yeah.
Tamara, if you were to advise someone to do some self-practice, how would you suggest a sequence? Because that's a big question.
This is it's an interesting question, and I think it comes back to the kind of should again, or being too prescriptive. So what I personally like to do with my self-practice is I like to take maybe 5 minutes at the start just to sit. I call it landing. I land on my mat, and I don't have too much that I'm trying to get through for the day, because if I land and I feel, okay, this is quiet time, I need to open after a day on a laptop. So I'm going to get into, so I listen to what my body is telling me. So that's the way I would generally advise people to guide themselves through a self-practice, is to actually tune in to what your body is saying it needs. Because if you sit down and you say, I desperately want to do handstands or headstands today, but your body really just needs some quiet time after a stressful day or something like that. If you're not tuning in, if you're not listening, you could run into injuries. You could run into just tiredness or lack of stability, that kind of thing. So I go in first and then move through the practice. If that makes any sense. Maybe
it does absolutely. It does absolutely. Now, you know, your background is communications, so I know there will probably be some yoga teachers watching here. So yoga branding, marketing, advertising, can you give them any tips?
Sure. Yes, absolutely. So I think as yoga teachers, sometimes there's a little bit of reluctance or a little bit of reticence about actually putting yourself out there. Self-promotion can feel really uncomfortable for a lot of people. You know, talking to video. Yeah. Well, you know, talking to video is, you have to watch it back sometimes as well, Greg, which is just painful for so many people.
I never watch back. That's my secret. That's how
yeah. Never
unless I know I need to edit something, never watch back. Because I trust, if I record a class, I shouldn't admit this, but I'm going to. If I record a class, I don't like seeing my own face. I don't like listening to my own voice, and that's human nature. It's not that I've got an inferiority complex. We're all like that, but unless you're, Terry Wogan maybe. But I trust that I know people do like my class, so there must be something good in it, and so I just record it and I stick it up there. And I might put nice music on, but I'm not going to watch it. So sorry. Anyway, go on.
I watch everything back. I try and actually, the more you watch it, the less painful it is. It's still a little. I'm never going to practice along with my own recordings. I think that I wouldn't be able to come out of myself.
We had a recent interview with Sharon Brady. Sharon was actually recommending that a way she has found it has helped her to improve on Zoom is she does watch her recordings back. And she said, occasionally I do them and see does it work. And I thought, wow, that's brilliant. Commitment. Never will, but brilliant.
Okay, in Sharon's honor, I'm going to do one. I'll try to practice along with myself. But if I was to give some tips, so bearing in mind, look, no one loves self-promotion, and no one absolutely adores it and gets up in the morning and says, I'm going to do some self-promotion today, but it's important. And I always say to bring your soul into it, to let people fall in love with you. Don't keep yourself a secret. But if I was to kind of give 3 tips to people getting online or getting out there, number 1, I would say, give your 360-degree view of yourself. So what I mean by that is, don't just put up the best versions of your asana practice and, stick that up there and say that you're a yoga teacher and that's that. Give the background, give the pictures of you maybe falling out of a pose, or talk about the struggles that you had, or your yoga teacher training, or your ambitions. So it's the human side of you, as opposed to just the aspiration Instagram perfection side. So that's tip number 1. Tip number 2 is to remember that your audience and your customer sees social media as a conversation. So it's a two-way street. So if they're talking and you're not listening, you're not a great listener in the world of social media. So try and engage with the people who you want to see in your classes, your audience, your desired kind of community. Give them some feedback, give them some of your time. So just remember that it is a two-way street for people on social media. So do a bit of listening. And the third thing I was going to say, I'm looking down at my notes here. The third tip is to pick maybe 2 or 3 things about you that you want to be known for. So I'm a brand marketer, so I always go to defining your brand, and you can get lost in brand strategy and formulas and kind of marketing theory. But if you can pick 1, 2, or 3 things that you absolutely want to be known for and bring them into your comms and be consistent. So talk about them kind of time and time again. What you want other people to describe you as, bring that into your messaging. So whether it's you're kind of kooky, or you teach with good humor, or I'm not sure if you're a yin teacher, or you have an alternative view of vinyasa, something like that. Whatever your kind of thing is, try and bring it through to your comms. So they're my kind of 3 advice. Tips.
I might act on some of it.
Hashtag Tamara.
Yeah.
Tips with Tamara.
Absolutely. So what takeaway can viewers bring home from our yoga chats today, Tamara?
Takeaway. Do you know my one thing, and it's taken me a long time to kind of learn this with yoga, is that there's no straight line. I don't think there's any one rule. There's no should. Do what feels right, what feels appropriate, what feels like you're craving at that point in time. and bring that into your practice. So try not to be too formulaic with yourself, be forgiving with yourself, and you're going to enjoy your practice so much more.
Yeah, that's really good advice. I always try to mostly enjoy my practice, but there's a few poses I struggle with, so I always try to wrap them up in tinsel and do mostly the nice stuff, you know, dangle the carrot and then get the nasties in there, but then have another carrot afterwards.
Oh, completely. Exactly. Yeah. Save some really carrot cake for the end then that you're looking forward to.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's so important, because otherwise, you know, I used to in the past think, okay, today I'm going to do all the, you know, the whatever poses I don't really savor, and I appreciate them and they give me a lot, but I don't savor them. I just wouldn't put the mat on the floor that day.
True.
So we are like, you know, I have a puppy at the moment. We're like puppies. Our minds are like puppies. We need slow training.
Yeah, we do. We need reward. We need to feel that.
We need reward. Yeah. So, Tamara, thank you so much. On behalf of all of our viewers and our listeners, I'd like to really thank you so much for coming to join us for our yoga chats today.
Absolutely. Anytime. Thank you so much for having me. It's been fun.
It's been really good fun. Yeah, we'll do it again. And that's all for now, folks. I'm Greg Walsh, and I'd like to thank you for listening or viewing. And I hope you can join us for more yoga chats again soon.